have some fun today with lots of different things. I have some alcohol ink and some translucent clay. I have some translucent clay here that I have mixed up with some gold, and it has varying amounts of gold. Some of it has more and some of it has less. So I'm going to mix more of that up in a minute. And I have scrap clay. I have a lot of scrap clay here in varying colors. But other than this, the predominant color that you want are shades of blues and whites. A little bit of silver mixed in is okay. The only piece, not scrap clay, is this little bit of white here that I added in, some translucent. When you roll out your translucent, you're going to want to set aside one small little thin strip. Okay. I have my paper plate. I took some of the brown alcohol ink and I put it on some of the translucent clay, and it is sitting here drying. I probably will not need this much, but I went ahead and made it anyway. Okay, and it's just a block. This was done with chopping up the clay, and there is silver and dark blue and white and then various shades of blue in here, and there's some metal leaf in here, and I want the addition of the metal leaf. I might throw in a little bit of this old cane. These are canes that have been sitting around for a really long time in my storage. Skinner blend up whatever scraps I have. I've been thinking about doing something oceany and tropical-y, so that's where we're headed today. I'm throwing white in between them because it'll give us that frothy, oceany effect. A little bit of white over here. And I want white here. Yes, it is a mess. It is a mess intentionally. The ocean is a messy place. And you will like having the metal leaf in there because it'll give it a little bit of shimmer like the ocean has when the sunlight is hitting it. And take it and just kind of put it over to the side a little bit. Will help blend those colors. If it starts getting too white on you, you know what to do. Smush it back together. I'm looking at this and I'm seeing too much white in here. So I'm going to take just a little bit. But if I can, I'll roll it out into a snake. I like how the older canes are kind of giving it a little bit of a frothy effect. Now we have lots of fun going on with this. And it's okay that this edge is like this. I'm going to take this and set it to the side for a minute. And then I'm going to mix this guy up. And when I mix it up, I don't want to mix it up perfectly. I want it to have sections that are a little bit lighter and a little bit darker. And you'll see here what I did. I took and I added it in. And then when you do that, it gives you a line. Because gold clay will do that. You know, leave those shadows. But when the waves crash in, come in and out of the ocean, sorry. When the waves crash in and out, it leaves lines in the sand. And that's kind of the effect that you get when you start adding in little bits and pieces like that. Okay. This should be dry by now. It's been sitting here for a very long time. If you have yellow and brown clay on your own already, you know, you can use those. You can mix in a little bit of yellow to this. You don't want a lot. The brown is kind of an important piece because beach isn't just one color. So that's why I got the gold out. So now I'm going to take these guys and mix them up. But I don't want it to be just totally brown or totally gold. You know, it gives you that effect. See the difference? you can do is you can take it and tear it. And when you put it back together, you will definitely get more of a varied effect in your clay. And you can do longer sections. You know, it doesn't all have to be. And you can put it on top of itself. Or you can just take the two and mix them together completely. My camera clicked off, so I really hope that it recorded all of that. I took the Skinner blend and concertined it, and then I cut it and alternated the pieces. Thinned it out. And this is going to obviously be a really narrow piece, and it doesn't have very much white in it, but that's okay. Give you the idea of what I did. And rather than just using it like this or like this, I laid it down and I took my cutter and I sliced it. And I left it sitting in place, and I made some wider and some skinnier. And then I took them and I alternated them like so. Okay. But the more interest you have in between your layers, the more interest you will get in your water, and the more fun you'll have swirling it and pulling it out. So see, because like this guy doesn't really have a lot going on in there, but I just wanted to show you what I did to achieve this technique. But now I'm slicing down into it and laying these pieces out like this. And you can also take them and go like this to give yourself more width. Not like that, that's too thin. And it's okay if the widths are varying. It's okay if some pieces are thicker and some pieces are thinner. And we're not going to use all of this. We're only going to end up using a small portion of it. Decide which side you like better. And there's more metal leaf in that one. There's more shimmer, so I think I like that better. And take it, kind of smush it together. See, I told you I'm going to use that word. And then roll it. Now, here's where things kind of get interesting. You want to take your fingernail, or if you have something like this, kind of a tool, and go down into your clay and start not smearing it necessarily, but blurring the lines. Okay? We're going to make all of those edges disappear. And you can use your fingernail. You could use a toothpick, you could use tweezers, you could use any kind of, like a little needle, you know, any small little thing that you have like that. A ball stylus doesn't work as well because it kind of makes your rut's a little too thick, but that's okay. I mean, if that's what you have and that's what you want to use, that's okay. You can use that too. I prefer to use my fingernail and just go along and work in small little sections as I go. And then if there's a spot that you don't like, just pull some clay from another spot, kind of blur it, blend it. That's what the ocean does, right? It's not just straight lines, it's frothing, curling waves. And if you really look at the ocean, it's not even straight lines. It's because one wave is curling when another one's crashing and another one's forming. So if you take your fingernail and push in there, and you're not pushing deep, you're just going a little bit, it helps you blur those little edges along those lines. Granted, we're not going to be using this whole piece either. We're only using a small portion of it. You have to decide on is which side is going to be your shore crashing on the water. Which side is going to be your beach side versus your ocean side, right? And you want the white on that end. So right here doesn't really work. We'd need to maybe just add in a little bit of white right there. If you have a little section that you're not liking, just add in a little bit of white. And see how pulling it in and then pushing that bluish green down into it. And kind of smooth it with your finger. So just work with it until you're happy with it. Okay, I'm going to take a look at it. And this spot is too thick right there. So I'm going to press it down. Really thin it out, because once the water is getting to the shore, it's thinning. Okay. And if you don't like that side, you can add white down here, and you could make this your shore side. Now, this is a little bit thicker, intentionally. And then decide which way you like it. So I kind of like this because it shows that there's curves, like you would see in the sand. You need a toothbrush or something to mark your clay with. Go different directions so they're not always facing the same way. And then you can always take a ball stylus and add some marks in as well. Sand is not flat, has texture and variation. Okay. Roll this edge a little bit thinner where the sand is meeting the water. Okay, so we'll come back to doing more texturing in a minute. Decide how far up you want to bring it. And I think I have it turned the wrong direction now. See why? Because of that little bit of a curve. This actually really looks more like sand to me. The way it's going in and out. And I may be overthinking it. With your smaller ones. Because your smaller ones give you more fun. You really wouldn't want big ones. I mean, you could do a couple, maybe, but not too many. Okay. Now, I'm going to bring this up here, and now you're going to start taking this edge and pushing it gently inward. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking at it going, I definitely need more white. And take your stylus and start pushing that white down. Then use your finger. You're going to start breaking it up. Like that wave is crashing on the surface. And you're just going to want to keep manipulating the clay. And like I said, I think I need a little bit more white. So I'm just going to take a small little piece of white, put it right here, and I'm going to bring it into the blue and onto the sand. And it's okay if it breaks off. Don't worry about that. It just adds more interest. The waves are frothing on the shore. So you can just even take it and, like, there's a little bit of water left that hasn't receded yet. But then when you bring this in, it may meet up with it again. And then this is why I said to keep the thin translucent. You're going to take and poke holes in your translucent and pull a little bit of it off, and then take it and set it on here as well and pull it up in there, because it's just adding another layer and dimension to your clay. To your shoreline. You got to keep in mind too that, say this is an approximation of what you're going to be cutting. You know, you can decide how much water you want, how much sand you want. You know, and I am showing you with a big cutter just for argument's sake. A bit more over here. I think I need a little bit of water up in here. Like it's still on the beach and it hasn't receded yet. Or maybe it got stuck in a little deeper spot. If you don't like it, just keep messing with it until you do. Kind of go along any of the colorations that you have, like right here. Because like here's another wave that's getting ready to crash and it's coming in. So you pull the lines the white both directions. And I kind of curled them up after I cut it and got more coloration that way too. Like I was actually getting the wave curling up. And then take something like this. This is a little starfish bead that I have. I'm gonna press it down with the clay and then make more marks. Especially make sure that I go around it. And if you wanted to, you could just do part of one. That one didn't go in very far. Let's try that again. If you have any charms that have shells on them, you could take something like this and press in being mindful of the circle. You don't want that part in there. And just pop it off. And then you get that little shell shape in there as well. All right. Starting to look like the ocean to me. What do you think? One of those things that you can just keep messing with until you're truly happy with it. But I really think I want to add the micro beads and see what it does. And then you can get a small pendant out of it. Yes, I know I put all that work and everything up there, but you can change it around. You can go up here, go down here. Oh, that's kind of cool. The wig starts rolling in. Do that, blur that whole edge line. These are the micro beads that I was talking about. And these might make a really cool effect. But I have to tell you, when you open these, the static electricity, well, they like to stick. So, open it really slowly. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oops. And I spilled it. I pressed too hard. I spilled it again. Don't do that. Maybe a few more over here. Well, that was more than a few. They really stuck to my finger. But I'm pressing them down into the clay. Now I know once these are baked, some of them are going to come out. But you know what? That's okay. It'll just add more little impressions in our clay. Kind of like when somebody uses the salt and does the lava stone effect, which I think is really cool. I've never done it. And you could probably add in some other colors too if you wanted to. If you wanted to add in just like a few black ones, just to give you a little bit of variation. Show you what it looks like after it's been baked. It's out of the oven. The micro beads have stayed in really well, even when I'm running my finger across here. I'm really happy with the fact that they're not coming out. I was really concerned about that. I love the other colors. I could have added just a little bit more white along here, I think, to increase that little bit of a wave. And I don't know if you can tell, but it is not flat. It has texture to it. One thing that I would note is I love how along here it has the frothy edge. It really looks like water along the shore. That I like with both of them is, and I really hope the camera picks it up, there was old mica in the clay that I mixed in. And so it gives it some shimmer and luster, which you get when you are looking at the ocean, you know, and the sunlight is hitting it. This is obviously too large to be worn as a piece of jewelry, but what I'm thinking that I might do with it is put it on a little plaque, maybe, and I may add some pieces like this, which might give it a little bit more character, some interest. And I could take this piece and cut this off. I could put one of your shell charms on here if you wanted to. Heck, you could even put your mermaid on here if you wanted to. Now, the other thing that I was thinking about while this was baking was I have some crushed glass that I have not used, which I think would have added a really interesting dimension, especially if you used some of the other colors that were similar to your shore, or went with like a darker one maybe and made it like it was some rocks, like the water was crashing up on some rocks. That might be an interesting effect. Use pieces of black and gray clay and make your own little rock formations along the beach as well, crashing up and around them. But if you do that, make sure that you've got the white froth around the rocks too. Really, really happy with how this turned out. I really like it. And just by setting those little charms on there, once I glue them on there, it just gives it that little extra bit of personality that kind of brings it to life. I'm really, really excited about this one, guys. I am more excited about this than I have been about anything that I have done in a long time. I'm going to make more of these, and I think I'm going to work on doing a longer piece, narrower, so that I can focus more on the shoreline, so I can get some smaller pieces, you know, or some pieces like this out of it, you know, because that would look really, really neat in a necklace. It's just so much fun. And even if you left a piece like that on there, it just adds so much to it. Because I have a bunch of this left over, and unfortunately I didn't get it filmed when I was making this. Interest to draw from if you have the different multiple layers from your Skinner blend. So, try it. I think you will really, really like it. Here's the back, and it's, you know, fairly smooth other than right here where I brought that together. So if I were selling this, I would definitely back this. I'm not selling this piece, obviously, or this piece. This was just my practice piece. But if I make some of these to sell them, I would definitely back them and resin them, or seal them with varnish, or, you know, like the Fimo varnish or something like that, so everything stays in place. But I think resin would probably be a better choice because of those guys, the little micro beads. So I hope you guys make this. I hope that you love this video. Please like, subscribe, tell me in the comments what you think. One other little thought is, if you're rolling this up, like you're curling this for the wave, and you see that I've pulled the colors down and I've kind of blended the white and the turquoise into the water, because often when you see a wave crashing, it will do that. It will curl and curve, and the water will kind of pull down. And you can add a little bit more white along here, or you can add a little bit more white along here. And that is what brings your colors to life, what brings your ocean to life as you're playing with it and working with it. You know, just finding those spots where you want to lay your white and your colors. So it is the kind of thing that you will just keep messing with and messing with until you are happy with, or until you get to the point where you just say to yourself, you know what, I have to stop, because if I don't stop, I'm going to go too far. So for example, I'm just going to put just a little bit, maybe not a lot, but maybe just a little tiny bit of extra white in here, because this is where it kind of spread out. And so this is where I'm going to, whoops, come back here, bring this white down from the surface of the wave. Like this part is crashing, if I can get the clay to cooperate with me, like this part of the wave is crashing at a different rate than this part of the wave over here. And just keep messing with it until you're happy with it. And then that way you'll be able to get pendants from different sections of your clay. As you're going along, if you get little bits of white flecks like this, it is okay to just allow them to kind of stick into your clay and just kind of press them in, because again, that's just one more way of adding a layer of interest to your clay, because it's the foamy, frothy pieces in the ocean. And it can be a very volatile place. It does not have to be a calm place, like I showed you in the videos at the beginning. Recently took at the beach. So, you know, you can just take little spots of white and add it in there as well, kind of like that. And you see how just by pulling that color both directions, it changes it up and gives it more visual interest. And it doesn't always have to be ruffly and frothy. It can be flatter like that. But then if you want the dimensions, you know, just go ahead. See, and then by curling it over, I'm getting color from underneath as well. And so, like if you did a piece down over here, you know, and did just something with the edge of it on there, that would be really interesting, because it looks like it's a really busy ocean. And then you've got a lot of interest going on in there. And one other thought, you could put real seashells if you have little tiny seashells. Nice day, guys. Talk to you soon.